Aftershocks have struck Mexico over the weekend as rescuers continued to search for survivors of Tuesday's earthquake, the country's deadliest in decades. In the capital, Mexico City, hopes of pulling people alive have faded by the hour, and frustration with authorities has grown among the thousands who lost their homes, now left sleeping in makeshift shelters or right on the street, anxiously holding pictures of their missing loved ones. We've been here since Tuesday. We haven't received any news. We've been here for 24 hours and haven't gotten any sleep. And no one has come to give us either good or bad news. I haven't seen anybody pulled out of the rubble. Tuesday's quake has killed at least 318 people and flattened dozens of buildings. Thousands of volunteers have been working tirelessly to sift through the rubble.
They bring all they can carry, wading through rushing water, holding onto a dead power cable, now an impromptu lifeline. A community in Morovis, Puerto Rico, cut off when Hurricane Maria washed this bridge away. This woman tells us everything on the other side is devastated. The need here is massive. Rural parts of the island ravaged, including the mountain town of Utuado.
I'm Tammy Leitner. We've been driving from community to community where people are desperate for water. Here outside Utuado, they've jerry-rigged a PVC pipe to get river water because there's no drinking water anywhere on the island.
In northwest Puerto Rico, engineers inspecting the Oaxaca Dam after finding a crack in it. If it bursts, authorities warn of life-threatening flooding. Today, we rode along with a FEMA search and rescue team from South Florida as it made its way to the central part of the island. Greg Barhost is a firefighter from Miami. He's worked hurricanes Harvey, Irma, and now Maria.
So we just spent the last hour trying to drive around and find out where to go and what needs done. And it seems like because of lack of communication, we're coming up with a dead end.
As they meet local officials for the first time, they're finding a similar story over and over again. No cell service and no communication is hampering rescue efforts.
No contact.
Alfredo Delgado is a Morovis police officer. The hurricane destroyed his home, too.
It's pretty hard because I have to do two jobs at the same time. You know, I have to work with the people that needs us, and I also have to work with my own needs, you know.
Throughout the island, the hunt for fuel is growing more dire.
These are people that come from miles away. Cars without gas. Very tough, very tough.
As these search and rescue teams clear the way for the island's long recovery, one mission at a time. Tonight, there is an urgent rush to clear these roads and open up lines of communication. But the more people we speak with, it's clear this recovery won't be measured in weeks, but months, even years.
US President Donald Trump has issued a third proclamation restricting entry to the United States that will come into effect on October the 18th. It will now apply to 8 countries. Sudan is dropped from the list, but it adds Chad, North Korea and Venezuela. In the latter case, the restrictions only apply to some government officials and their families. Iraqis will now only be subject to additional scrutiny. Unlike his previous 2 bans, this one is not time-limited. As the latest ban no longer exclusively targets Muslim-majority nations, it may undercut arguments in the Supreme Court on the 10th of October, where his second order made in March and given temporary court approval in the summer is being challenged. Trump abandoned his first January order after several federal courts ruled it was unconstitutional.
A group of Portuguese children from an area struck by fatal forest fires this summer have launched a crowdfunding bid to sue dozens of European governments for allegedly failing to tackle climate change. June's heatwave saw temperatures soar to over 40 degrees Celsius. More than 60 people were killed, many in their cars trying to flee the flames, and hundreds were injured. Lawyers and investigative journalists are backing the children, all from the Leiria region, in trying to bring a case to the European Court of Human Rights. They're targeting 47 countries, including Britain, France and Germany, demanding tougher emissions-cutting policies and a commitment to keep most existing fossil fuel reserves in the ground.
A suicide bombing has struck a NATO convoy in the Afghan capital, Kabul. At least 3 civilians were wounded, but international forces were unharmed, according to security officials. AFP news agency reports the Taliban claimed responsibility for the attack, which happened when a car packed with explosives hit the convoy in the west of the city. The explosion was very strong. The residential area nearby was damaged as a result. The windows of my house were shattered. NATO has about 13,000 troops in the country. They train and support Afghan forces fighting the Taliban and the Islamic State militant group.
We are in charge of forming a government, and without our party there will be no government. Victory for the soon-to-be fourth-time German Chancellor was greeted with enthusiasm by her supporters, but there are concerns. Her conservative CDU-dominated alliance has hemorrhaged support to the anti-immigration Alternative for Germany. Compared to other countries like our neighbours, let's say France, Poland and the Netherlands, it's lucky that in percentage terms it's been a relatively moderate success by the AfD. But it is a shock, and also because AfD have not only mobilised non-voters, but they've also taken CDU voters. This is where we need to think things through. How can we get back these 1 million or so voters and bring them back into our camp? Others are playing up the virtues of having different coalition partners with the possibility of broadening government priorities. We need a government that thinks of the future, that tackles the ecological as well as the economic challenges, and I think that for this task a small coalition is the right course. Our correspondent says Germany has voted and the CDU and CSU alliance has again got a mandate to govern, but with heavy losses. Angela Merkel is facing long and difficult talks to form a government that will be able to get things done. One of the biggest challenges in the next 4 years is the fact that the AfD will now be in Parliament.
Euronews Berlin.
E agora é deporte.